Okay, I hope I'm audible to all my students who are attending this particular lecture for the Statistical Methods for Economics course. In this particular lecture, I'm starting with the discussion of a very important module in statistics called index numbers. So let's quickly start with this particular lecture. So I'm just writing the main heading for completeness. We are looking at theory of index numbers. Theory of index numbers. The book I prefer to follow as reference for my lectures on this particular topic. This is Fundamentals of Statistics by S.C. Gupta. Fundamentals of Statistics by S.C. Gupta. This is the standard book I prefer to follow for most of my modules in the statistical methods for economics or the business statistics. Okay, so let's first of all write what is the definition. Let's first of all understand what are index numbers. So students can first of all write the definitions. Index numbers are statistical devices. Index numbers are statistical devices designed to measure the relative change in the level of a phenomena The phenomena can be variable or a group of variables. Variable or a group of variables with respect to time, geographical location, or other characteristics such as income or profession. So when we talk about index numbers, what are index numbers going to measure? Index numbers are going to measure what is the relative change in the level of a phenomena. The phenomena can be variables or a group of variables. So index numbers are going to measure what is the relative change in a variable or a group of variables. And this relative change can be measured either with respect to time, or it can be measured with respect to a geographical location, or with respect to certain characteristics like income or profession. For example, suppose I want to see how in my economy inflation has behaved in the past. We all know that inflation captures persistent increase in prices, continuous and persistent increase in prices. So a price index is going to capture how prices have changed from one year to the other. And in index numbers, when we are looking for comparison, we are going to take 2 years, the base year and the current year. A base year is any normal year, okay, with not much economic ups and downs. It's a normal economic year. And the current year is the year with which we are measuring that particular variable. So I'm revising it again, the definition of index numbers with all students. Index numbers are going to capture what is the relative change in a variable. That variable can be price, quantity, etc. So how prices have changed over time, how quantities have changed over time, how production has changed over time. Okay, we can also measure index numbers with respect to geographical locations. How prices have changed in an economy like India with respect to economies like US or UK and so on. Okay, so index numbers are going to capture the relative change in the variable. Okay, so now let's quickly look at types of index numbers. So this is again just theory. Types of index numbers. The first type called price index numbers. Price index numbers. So I can write that the price index numbers, measure the general change in prices. They measure the general change in prices. And I can write that these can further be classified. These can further be classified into wholesale price index, wholesale price index, so let's understand wholesale price index. Now wholesale price index is going to capture the price level but at the wholesale level. Okay, so these are going to capture inflation or change in prices at the wholesale level. So I can write that the wholesale price index, also called WPI, the wholesale price index reflects the changes in the general price level. It indicates the changes in the price level at the wholesale level. So WPI reflects the changes in prices at the wholesale level. Okay, if I look at retail price index, what is a retail price index? If I erase the initial part off, erasing the initial part off, what are more important in this particular module are the numericals and the types of constructing index numbers. But this is just the theory to help all students understand the important terminologies. Okay, so part 2 is part B. Part A was wholesale price index. Part B is retail price index numbers. Retail, or I can also say consumer price index numbers. So I can also write that consumer price index, CPI, commonly known as the cost of living index, is a specialized kind of retail price index that enables us to study the effect of changes in the prices of a basket of goods or commodities on the purchasing power of the final consumers. So when we look at the consumer price index, students should understand how consumer price index is different from the wholesale price index. Wholesale price index is when you are just looking at the price at the wholesale level. But consumer price index captures the changes in prices at the retail level. Retail level is when the product or the good is finally sold to the consumer for final consumption. So consumer price index is also known as the cost of living index. Okay, it is the retail price index which is going to capture the effect of changes in the prices of a basket of certain goods and services on the purchasing power of the final consumer. The final consumer is the consumer who is going to buy the good or the service from the retail store. So it's also called retail inflation. Consumer price index also captures retail inflation. Wholesale price index captures the inflation at the wholesale level. Consumer price index captures the inflation at the retail level. Okay, so hoping students have understood these two. If I erase all this off, let's now look at the second type of price index. The first one, let's look at the second type of index number. The first one was price index. Second one is quantity index numbers. Within price index, we had done wholesale and retail. For the second point, this is quantity index numbers. So students can write that quantity index numbers study the changes in the volume of goods produced. They study the changes in the volume of goods produced, consumed, or distributed. They are extremely helpful. They are extremely helpful in studying the level of physical output in an economy. The level of physical output in an economy. So when we talk about quantity index numbers are going to capture what is the change in the volume of goods. Volume of goods which are produced, consumed, or distributed. Price index was capturing the changes in the prices of the economy, either at the wholesale or at the retail level. Okay, quantity index number is going to capture changes in the volume of goods. Let's look at some examples of quantity index numbers. So I can write some examples include index of industrial production, and index for exports and imports. So these are some standard examples of quantity index numbers. I'm repeating it again. In case of quantity index numbers, we are studying the changes in the volume of goods which are produced, consumed, or distributed. And they are going to be helpful in studying the level of physical output in the economy. Okay, the third type of index numbers, value index numbers. Value index numbers. These are intended to study the change in the total value. How do we find the total value? Total value is nothing but price multiplied by quantity. We all know that total value is price times quantity. So value index numbers are going to capture the change in the total value of production. Okay, Such as, some examples would be such as indices of retail sales, indices of retail sales, or profits or inventories. Indices of retail sales or profits or inventories. So value index numbers are different from price and quality index numbers because these are going to capture what is the change in the total value of production. For example, what has been the change in the value of sales from the base to the current year? What has been the change in the profits from the base to the current year? What has been the change in the value of inventories from the base to the current year? Will be captured by value index numbers. Okay, so hoping students have understood this. And now, this is where I stop in this particular lecture. But before stopping, I would like to also cover the basic terminologies which we are going to use. Because in the next lecture, we are going to look at methods of constructing index numbers. So let me first of all erase all this off and also write notations and terminologies used in index numbers. Notations and terminologies used in index numbers. So all students attending this lecture can write this heading. Notations and terminologies used in index numbers. So let's first of all see base year. Let's look at base year. So what is a base year? Base year is the year selected for comparison. It is the year selected for comparison. That is the year with respect to which the comparisons are. The year with respect to which the comparisons are made. So base year is that year with which we are going to make the comparisons. And it is denoted by the suffix 0. It is denoted by the suffix 0. So in our lectures from now onwards, 0 is always going to denote the base. Okay, let's look at the current year. So current year is the year. Current year is the year for which the comparisons are sought or required. It is the year for which the comparisons are sought or required. So current year is that year for which we are going to make comparisons. And the comparisons will be made with the base year. The comparisons are always made with the base year, and the current year is that year for which we are making comparisons. I can further write it is denoted by the suffix 1. It is denoted by the suffix 1. Okay, so hoping students have understood this. And now the terminologies for all students, for the terminologies, let P0 denote the price of the commodity. P0 denotes the price of the commodity in the base year. P1 denotes price of the commodity in the current year. Q0 denotes the quantity of the commodity. Q0 denotes the quantity of the commodity consumed or purchased during the base year. Q1 denotes the quantity of the commodity consumed or purchased during the current year. Okay. Then P01, or before going on to P01, W. W denotes the weight assigned. W denotes the weight assigned to a commodity. W denotes the weight assigned to a commodity according to its relative importance in the group. So W is going to capture how much importance we are giving to that commodity in a group. If I'm giving a higher weight, it means I'm giving more importance to that particular commodity in the group. If I am allotting a lower weight, it means I'm giving lesser importance to that commodity in the group. So I hope students are clear with all these terminologies. P0 is the price of the commodity in the base year. P1 is the price of the commodity in the current year. Q0 is the quantity of the commodity consumed or purchased in the base year. Q1 is the same in the current year. W denotes the weight, which is capturing the relative importance of that commodity in the group. Okay, so moving forward, if I erase the initial part off, and if I continue with the terminologies on the top, erasing this part off, I can further write that I denotes the simple index number. I denotes the simple index number, or the price relative, or the price relative obtained on expressing the current year price as a percentage of the base year price, and is given by, so the simple index number I is nothing but the price relative. Price relative is nothing but the price of the current year divided over price of the base year, and to convert into percentage, we all know that we multiply by. So if I revise again, a simple index number, I denotes a simple index number, also called the price relative, which is just going to capture the relative prices as a percentage of the base year. So the price relative is going to express the current year price as a percentage of the base year price. Current year price divided by base year price times 100 gives me the simple index number. Okay, so this was I. Then what is P01? So if I write P01, P01 denotes the price index number. P01 will denote the price index number for the current year with respect to, WRT denotes with respect to the base year. Remember, current year is denoted by 1, base year is denoted by 0. Okay, P10 will denote the price index number for the base year with respect to the current year. Okay, so P01, I'm repeating, is the price index number for the current year with respect to the base year. P10 is the price index number for the base year with respect to the current year. And similarly, I can write the same things for quantity also. So if I erase all this off, I hope students are making notes along with me. So erasing all this off, I can write that Q Q01. Q01 denotes the quantity index number. Quantity index number for the current year with respect to the base year, and Q10 denotes the quantity index number for the base year with respect to the current year. Q10 denotes the quantity index number for the base year with respect to the current year. V01 denotes the value index. This denotes the value index for the current year with respect to the base. In the coming lectures, we are going to look at formulas for all these. Okay. V01, I'm repeating again, denotes the value index for the current year with respect to the base year. Okay, so I stop in this particular lecture. The objective of this lecture was to introduce all students to the concept of index numbers, look at the types of index numbers, and look at some important terminologies involved in studying index numbers. Now, the next lecture is going to be a very important lecture where we are going to look at methods of constructing index numbers. So this lecture was only an introductory lecture, theoretical lecture, but the main practice lecture, the main lecture involving numerical starts from the next lecture. So the next lecture is going to be a very, very, very important lecture where we look at methods of constructing index numbers. So I stop in this lecture. I hope students have enjoyed this lecture. Any doubts? You can unmute your mic and ask, or you can get in touch with me for doubts on call or WhatsApp, or you can mail me your doubts at divideschoolofeconomics@gmail.com. This is where I stop in this lecture.